Black owner of the Valerian Grand didn't whisper luxury. It screamed it with the self-importance of a cathedral and the polish of a presidential motorcade. Tucked in the gold-laced heart of downtown Seattle, the hotel stood like a throne carved out of marble and money. Crystal chandeliers the size of small moons hung from ceilings so high they might have had clouds. Bellboys glided across buff stone like they were skating, tuxedos crisp enough to cut glass. Everything from the scent of roasted Kona coffee in the air to the hushed jazz curling from the lobby speakers radiated one message. Only the important belong here. And Ethan Hale, he was important, a black man in his mid-40s, with hair just touched by gray. Ethan walked in with a steady calm. His stride wasn't flashy. It was measured, deliberate. The walk of a man who built an empire and carried its plans in his back pocket. On his lapel rested the bronze tree emblem of the Hale Legacy Fund, named after his late mother, Lena Hale, who raised him on grit and scripture. Earlier that day, he had stood beside the mayor, cameras flashing, as he announced a housing initiative to cut homelessness in the city. The press praised him, the city celebrated him. He should have been lifted up. Instead, he was about to be cast out. Phone to his ear, discussing drywall costs with his coordinator, Ethan moved across the marble lobby as though it were his living room. Because it was. He nodded at Chloe behind the desk, exchanged a smile with Leo the doorman. He knew them all, and they knew him. He had fought for tuition benefits, stood against underpaying staff. He didn't just own property. He tried to build justice. Then came the voice. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the lobby." It said, sharp, cold, final. Ethan turned. A man he didn't recognize stood there. White, early 30s, buzz cut, jaw locked tight. His badge read J. Carter, security. Ethan's brow lifted, not in shock, but in weary recognition of what was coming. "Excuse me, you're not allowed here without a key card or ID," Carter replied, hand brushing his radio. "We've had complaints." Complaints. Funny word. Nobody complained when Ethan signed six-figure bonuses or renovated entire wings. But without a plastic card clipped to his blazer, he was suddenly suspicious. "I am Ethan Hale," he said, calm but firm. "This is my hotel." Carter's expression didn't change. He didn't believe. Or worse, he didn't care. "Sir, I need to see your identification. Right now." Ethan reached for his wallet slowly, deliberately, like he was walking in a history where men who looked like him had paid the price for moving too quickly. But Carter was already speaking into his radio. Behind the desk, Chloe shifted uncomfortably. Last month, she had handed Ethan roses on his birthday. Now she turned her face away. "Do you have a key card, sir?" Carter pressed, stepping closer. "Yes," Ethan said, his voice as smooth as morning fog. "Am I too late?" Carter seized his wrist. That wrist had signed contracts, drafted blueprints, lifted communities. And now it was locked in the grip of a man earning a fraction of what Ethan paid his managers. "You need to leave immediately," Carter barked, "or I'll call the police." "He owns the hotel," cried Samir, a young Somali bellhop, trembling but brave. "That's Ethan Hale. He owns this place." But the radio was already crackling. 2 more guards moved in. Chloe turned completely away. Ethan didn't fight. He didn't shout. He didn't even flinch. He let them do it. They escorted him through the glass doors, past stunned guests, through the grand lobby where only minutes earlier he had spoken to a senator on Zoom. Out onto the blazing July sidewalk he went, suit immaculate, dignity intact but tested. Above him gleamed the name Valerian Grand. His name wasn't carved in a stone, but every brick, every job created, every cent invested carried his mark. His phone buzzed. His coordinator waited for an answer about suppliers. Ethan ignored the call, scrolling instead to a contact labeled Executive Board Priority. He typed one line, "Lobby, 15 minutes, non-negotiable." Sliding the phone away, he adjusted his cufflinks and stood still. Cars passed. A child on a scooter stopped to stare. Tourists whispered, unsure. Ethan remained rooted, like a storm gathering strength but holding its silence. Inside, tension thickened. Chloe chewed her lip. Samir wrung his hands. Guests murmured nervously. And Carter, puffed up with false authority, believed he had won. But Ethan Hale had summoned something larger than security guards. He had summoned power. The board, the executives, the ones who understood, whose name kept their paychecks flowing. 15 minutes was all it would take. And when that clock expired, when polished shoes clicked against marble, when voices of true authority filled the air, someone would answer for what had just happened. For now, Ethan stood in the heat, his shadow stretched long across the pavement. Silent, waiting, a figure carved from dignity and defiance. And the reckoning had only just begun. The investors were already inside. Men in suits priced higher than mortgages, their eyes blinking only when numbers demanded it. At minute 16, the glass doors slid open. Marcus entered first, wide-shouldered, face unreadable, though his steps carried an unusual urgency. Behind him came Lorna, clutching her iPad like a shield, scanning before her mind caught the unfolding story. 2 investors followed, slim suits and watches heavy with ancestral confidence. They froze, because he was there, not pacing, not fuming, just standing, silent, as though measuring the building itself. And in a way, Ethan Hale didn't wait for greetings or protocol. He opened the doors himself and stepped into the lobby. The chandelier light caught him like a spotlight, but the air conditioning could not cool the tension he carried in. He unbuttoned his jacket, folded it neatly, and placed it on the reception desk before Chloe, who suddenly felt less like a receptionist and more like a clerk in a courtroom. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice low but commanding, "colleagues, partners, guests, I ask for your attention." The lobby stilled. Even the couple checking out froze mid-swipe. A phone buzzed somewhere in the distance, unanswered. "My name is Ethan Hale. I am a founder and majority owner of the Hale Group. And this morning, I was forcibly removed from my own building." A ripple moved through the room. Not shock yet, but unease. Someone coughed and instantly regretted it. "Why?" Ethan continued. "Because a new security guard decided I didn't look like I belonged here. No questions. No recognition. Just assumption." His voice sharpened without raising. "And it wasn't just him. I was watched leave by people who know me, who said nothing." Chloe's hands whitened on the desk. "This," he said, scanning the faces, "isn't new. What happened to me happens every day to people who look like me. In banks, in boardrooms, in places they helped build. The difference is, most of them can't fight back." He strode to the security terminal, typed in credentials no one knew he remembered, and pulled up the morning's footage. There was a tall black man in a tailored suit, calm, walking, then confronted, grabbed, escorted out. The silent playback filled the room louder than any speech. "That guard," Ethan said, pointing, "is terminated. Effective immediately. The shift manager, suspended. And Chloe," he added, eyes steady, "your silence spoke louder than words. You'll face review." Lorna stepped forward, cautious. "Ethan, maybe this isn't no." His quiet interruption cracked like a gavel. "We're done hiding behind HR memos and PR spins. Discrimination doesn't get managed in the shadows. We name it, we show it, or we're part of it." The lobby was a church now, holding its breath before confession. Ethan turned toward the guard still in uniform, pale and stiff. "Tell me," Ethan said, "what made you look at me and think I didn't belong?" The man swallowed. I just didn't think." "There it is," Ethan replied, voice tightening. "You didn't think. Because you didn't have to. Because the world trained you to believe power doesn't wear brown skin unless it's serving drinks or parking cars." The words landed heavy, immovable. No one argued. "I built this place," Ethan said. "Not with bricks, but with every decision, every sleepless night. And today it showed me how fragile dignity becomes when no one protects it." He swept the room with his gaze. "This isn't revenge. It's a reminder. Either we build a place where everyone belongs, or we polish marble for the next injustice." Silence reigned. Ethan picked up his jacket, slipped it back on, and for the first time, smiled at the stunned couple by the elevators. "Welcome to the Valerian Grand," he said. Then he walked out, leaving the lobby heavy with the truth he'd nailed into its walls. That night, under the glow of glass and gold, the building finally felt like his again.